Sega Scourge and welcome back to Sonic What If, for part 4 of What If Sonic Lost His Memory. Last time, we saw the remnants of Team Hero, Team Sonic and Team Chaotix searching far and wide for answers to Sonic's whereabouts, only to turn up nothing. It turned out to be a surprise visit from Silver that brought them new information, namely that Sonic was now allied with the Eggman Empire, and Shadow is missing. Silver gifted the group with a broken down Metal Sonic, who Tails later made a deal with to help them and himself, and so Metal is now temporarily aligned with the heroes. Alongside Silver and Metal, their newly formed militia departed to Frontier Canyon in order to find one of Eggman's bunkers, instead discovering naught but a trap. Eggman was waiting for them the entire time and sent the whole underground facility collapsing down on top of their heads. Knuckles and Silver got the group out of a tight spot, but as the saying goes, out of the frying pan and into the fire. They now face down a fleet of Eggman battleships, the same fleet seen in 2005's Shadow the Hedgehog, as well as a stupendous force of Sonic androids, and, let's not forget, Sonic himself, waiting to strike on the Doctor's behalf. So with that hopefully hyping you up, let's get right back into things and continue. The cast feel a deep pit expand in their stomachs as an entire army of Sonic androids march towards them. Hundreds, maybe thousands of the things, and with no hope of escape, what can they possibly do against this level of force? Silver meanwhile looks on in horror. There's too many. He's never seen this many androids in one place, and now that he has, there's only one conclusion that he can reach. So, this is how the world ends. Tails rallies the team, reminding them that one member of that horde is the real Sonic and they're here to get him back. There's simply no other choice but to take a stand. They have to fight. If they don't, they already know what will happen. The rest of the team agrees, their spirits decisively resolute. The android infantry takes its first steps forward, quickly building into a full-speed sprint. With the onslaught closing the distance in seconds, the team psych themselves up, bracing for whatever may happen. Then, before anyone else makes a move, Metal Sonic, single-mindedly fixated on revenge, takes off to meet Sonic androids in battle. The heroes follow suit. With an audacious war cry from each of them, they charge, which they realize quickly was a terrible decision. Not only are the androids far greater in number, but their speed is loosely comparable to that of their original counterpart. The heroes are instantly overwhelmed by the ferocious swarm set upon from all angles by a series of savage homing attacks as they're surrounded. Amy calls out in an effort to coordinate the wavering team, telling them to follow her. They all do just that, all except Metal, who is still viciously plowing through the androids one-man army style. Amy leads the team back towards the ruined bunker entrance. The piles of rock and the steel plating have collapsed in such a way that you can slip in via crevices, and then they could use this cavern to hold the line, drawing the Sonic androids in a steady stream and picking them off from the corners as they try to climb in. Though the strategy is reasonable, Espio and Silver take a line out of Metal's book and choose to fight apart from the rest of the group despite Tails' explicit instructions to stick together. However, this maneuver proves to be beneficial. With Espio's camouflage and Silver's ESP, they can attack safely and in unpredictable ways. Their intervention eases the flow of the assault to some degree, but the hero's little hidey hole soon has androids crawling all over it, pushing to get inside. As they breach the makeshift stronghold, Knuckles, Vector, and Big clobber them tag team style. Charmy weaves through the mob and delivers a series of stings. Rouge's kicks alongside Amy's Pico Hammer shield Cream and Cheese from harm. All the while, Tails peppers the robot invaders with the Cyclone's Vulcan cannon. But the fury of this confined battle begins to destabilize what little shelter they have as rocks topple over, creating new entryways for the Sonic androids. Through these fresh openings, Tails spots the air fleet's cannons arcing downwards and targeting their refuge. The Fox Boy makes a quick decision, realizing that he needs to divert their aim. He informs Knuckles and Amy that he's taking action before erupting out from the rock crevice, slamming through the androids as they try to get through. As he lands outside, the Cyclone's underside thruster sends the mech flying into mid-air, and once high enough, Tails triggers the flight mode transformation, reconfiguring the Cyclone back into the Tornado 3, a rocket-powered monoplane. Then blasting off and soaring towards Eggman's fleet. With Tails acting as the distraction, Amy orders the others to abandon the bunker rubble. While the androids clamber through the opening Tails made, the heroes turn and flee out the other side as Rouge turns and covers their escape with a shower of heart bombs. The smoke plumes momentarily hinder the androids, but they soon come tearing across the stretch in troves, right on the hero's tail. The team retreats through Frontier Canyon until they approach a hollow ravine with a narrow opening through the valley. Knuckles gets an idea. Running to one of the giant leaning stone pillars, he fractures its base with a swipe as they all run past, causing it to tumble over and collapse onto the pursuing androids right as they reach our team. Our power-type heroes then use their strength and the slight slope they ran up from to send the tubular rock spiraling down the hill and over the androids like a giant rolling pin, thus buying them some extra time. Silver and Espio, having remained in the thick of enemy territory, eventually find that there's just too many androids for them to handle. They make a strategic retreat, cutting down as many bots as possible on the way back to the rest of their allies. Meanwhile, in the skies above, Tails pilots the Tornado 3 right into the heart of the aerial armada, weaving through a typhoon of enemy fire and returning with waves of energy blasts just as he did with the egg carrier back in the day. His sights are set on the largest ship of the bunch, a titanic cruiser with a knife-like shape. The Fox remarks that Eggman's most likely on board, but this only provides more steadfastness to his flight path, cutting through the air directly beneath the command ship. But, once there, he sees something odd. Hanging from the belly of the ship is a smaller craft, almost like a metal blimp. The fortified dirigible is then seen detaching from its support mechanism. An escape craft of some kind? The egg balloon has been deployed as Eggman departs from his command center, intending to join the fray in person. From over a loudspeaker, Eggman screeches,
Well, 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 if it isn't Tails, come to say hello.
No! I've come to say goodbye!
The Tornado, being a much faster craft, is easily able to tag the egg balloon with several shots as the Doctor descends further and further downwards. However, it's far from enough. What the egg balloon sacrificed in speed, it more than makes up for in its defensive capabilities, requiring a heavy amount of fire to tear through its thick armor plating. Tails is shocked to see the craft still in the air after the beating it received, and in his astonishment he's unable to roll out of the way of a shot from the egg balloon's energy cannons. Fragments peel off from the Tornado's right wing in a trail of black smoke, forcing Tails to focus on regaining control and activating the auto-stabilizers.
You know, Tails, I've told Sonic all about you. All about what you did to him, and what you created to destroy him.
Shut up! Your lies are gonna come back to haunt you once we save Sonic!
The Tornado and the egg balloon continue to fly through the skies, Tails dodging shots from all angles as Eggman's massive aircrafts continue to tag his plane. It's a losing battle. That is, until the base of Eggman's giant command ship is blown apart by a squall of lead and napalm, revealing just what it was that caused Eggman to deploy his Zeppelin in the first place. It's Omega. Omega managed to sneak aboard the Doctor's command center, waiting for the fleet to take off, waiting for Sonic and the Sonic androids to be deployed before breaking out of the containment pod he was hiding in and laying down fire. Without Eggman to command the individual ships, the fleet's vessels have been operating off of rudimentary AI and egg pawns with essentially the same intelligence as Star Wars battle droids. The strongest E-series took a lesson from Rouge, awaiting the proper moment to strike. This rare display of patience has paid off. Having critically wounded the lead ship of the fleet, Omega comes running out to the edge of the deck and leaps from the ship. He aims his Gatling gun straight down, raining hellfire onto the egg balloon as he plummets towards it before finally slamming onto the top of the blimp, the force of the landing causing the craft to tilt forward wildly before struggling to regain its altitude.
Dr. Eggman, our business is not concluded.
Someone get this lunatic off of me!
Omega continues pumping slugs into the balloon, occasionally pausing to rip off sheets of metal with his bare hands. Eggman frantically issues new orders to the overhead fleet. All ships are now trained solely on Omega, being careful to impact him and not the egg balloon itself. The bulky automaton lacks the aerial grace of the Tornado and instantly begins taking damage from the shots, his attacks growing wilder and more erratic in the process. The battleships hinder Omega's assault on the Doctor. Therefore, Tails begins to provide cover with the Tornado, focusing on the fleet and leaving E-123 to tear apart Eggman's escape ship. Back on the ground in the midst of the on-the-run battle against the androids, Vector finds his jaw smacked to the stone as Big is knocked on top of him by an unseen blow from behind. Amy turns, her mouth agape, as she sees Sonic. The real Sonic, picking off the heroes and buying time for the Sonic androids to catch up. Small groups of them begin to converge on the cast once again, as Sonic 2 leaps into the fray, with the various members of the team trying to restrain him, but their attempts being reduced to futile swipes at the wind. Silver is the only person that could hold him, but the Psychic is still fighting his way towards the others alongside Espio. Rouge manages to take Sonic by surprise, soaring in from behind and wrapping her arms around him and lifting him into the sky. She tries to reason with Sonic, but her words are quickly rendered pointless when the hedgehog smashes the back of his head into her face. He then reaches his arms over his head and locks his fingers behind her neck, revving up into a mid-air spin and throwing her, sending her crashing to the ground. Sonic lands, scowling at Rouge as she attempts to sorely return to her feet. "You never should have woken me up. Maybe then this wouldn't have to happen." Sonic's words make it clear that he's still holding the grudge from the Final Fortress, still bitter about Rouge's withholding information about the Sonic androids. The Batgirl quickly tries to regain some distance, but this is Sonic. She's barely able to get 3 feet off the ground before the Blue Blur grabs her leg and slams her back down face first. Rouge realizes that she can't possibly keep up, but as Sonic readies another attack, "Hey, Sonic! Think fast!" Sonic is suddenly hit in the side of the head with a haymaker and punted away like a rag doll by the raging Echidna. Hesitant to let Rouge escape, Sonic tries to dash towards her again, but Knuckles isn't going to give him the chance, stepping in the way, grabbing him by the quills and throwing him across the field. It's now clear to the Hedgehog who's the bigger threat here. Sonic is no longer focused on Rouge, his new foe is now in the ring. Rouge gives her thanks to Knuckles, moving to rejoin the rest of the team. It's just Sonic and Knuckles now. As they begin to clash, Knuckles internally remarks that Sonic's fighting style has changed. He's become more focused, more brutal. Any shred of restraint holding him back from full power has drifted away. A sharp contrast to how he fought before, which was almost like a dance. Sonic now fights like a methodical killing machine like Metal Sonic. As Knuckles wrestles to block a homing attack, he again throws Sonic, lodging the Hedgehog into a nearby rock structure. Knuckles smirks, letting out a faint chuckle. "You know, it's funny. This is practically the opposite of how we first got to know each other. You, me, a bunch of rocks. Except I'm not the one doing Eggman's dirty work this time." As Sonic overhears Knuckles' memoir of past events, a splintering ache floods his brain like fragments of broken glass. The flashes have returned once again. He kneels over and grips his head, the memories scratching under the floorboards trying to come back to him. Phantasmic images race into his mind's eye. A battle in a crystal hall. Sonic facing off against this same red echidna. In spitting distance sits a flower-like altar with a large green gem adorned atop. But the strange mural in the corner of his eye is what really catches Sonic's attention. It looked like an image of him and the Doctor opposing each other. Sonic is suddenly pulled out of his flashback, quite literally, as a metallic hand seizes his top quill and drags him through the dirt. Metal Sonic, having filled his quota of fake Sonics destroyed, has decided to go after the main prize, and after everything that's happened, between his rejection by the Doctor and the humiliation he underwent with the heroes and now this battle, he's feeling especially wrathful. Fortunately for Sonic, he's able to clasp his hand onto a passing stone and pelt Metal's hand with it, breaking his grasp. Sonic instantly spin dashes right into Metal's exposed back, sending the robot scraping to the ground as Sonic rises to a dominant stance. You're that cheap knockoff the Fox Kid made to destroy me, huh? Oh, the Doctor told me all about you. You could never destroy me, Metal. You could never destroy the true Sonic. And by the time we're done here, you'll know that all too well. Needless to say, Metal is livid. Sonic and his robot copy break into a high-speed clash across the battlefield, racing back and forth, end to end, neck and neck with each other. As they do, Sonic receives snapshots of a past battle, surrounded by blinding lights as he and Metal Sonic race across a winding pathway, the road behind them no longer an option as a beam of light, presumably the work of Tails from Sonic's perspective, disintegrates the way back. As it is then, so it is now. A no-holds-barred match between Sonic and his doppelganger. Metal Sonic catches Sonic off guard, however. Using his ring spark field, Metal quakes the ground with a bolt of electricity, and a seismic shock causes Sonic to trip. In that moment of lost balance, Metal brutally slashes across Sonic's leg, forcing his foe into a wipeout. As Metal stands over Sonic, His tapering claw glistens in the light as he prepares the decisive stroke.
Hey! What do you think you're doing, you hunk of junk?
Knuckles interferes, jumping in and knocking Metal's arm away.
We're taking Sonic alive.
Metal makes it clear that he never agreed to the hero's agenda, cracking his steel elbow right into Knuckles' face. What follows is an irrationally barbarous three-way battle with every participant tangled in, dishing out hits to one another. Sadly, it reaches a point where Knuckles just can't keep up. Knuckles is showered with split-second attacks by Sonic and Metal, and Sonic and Metal, unwilling to deal with this distraction any longer, send Knuckles flying from their circle. Knuckles now lays flat out on his stomach, helplessly beholding Sonic and Metal going at each other like wild animals. Without Shadow, Knuckles is the strongest physical fighter that the heroes have, and with Silver, Rouge, and the Chaotix all preoccupied with the Sonic androids, it's all come down to this: who will win between Sonic and Metal Sonic? As far as Knuckles is concerned, neither outcome is preferable. Back in the air, the egg balloon begins to rupture and catch fire. As reinforced as it is, it can only withstand a few reps of Omega's cannon fire before the top half of the Zeppelin explodes alongside a cry of anger from Dr. Eggman. Omega and the blimp's gondola are sent toppling out of the sky and gracelessly crash into the ground, right in the middle of the team's fight. Tails sees this and quickly puts the tornado into a nosedive to pursue. Unfortunately, the devious Doctor has another trick up his sleeve. Rouge catches sight of Omega, expressing joy that he's finally returned, but there's no time for reunions. As Omega stands facing the smoldering wreckage of the gondola, the entire thing bursts open and a strange machine emerges from within it. It looks almost like a water spider with a large bulbous center and 3 screens on the front. As Eggman confidently locks the Eggmobile into its control center, the Egg Dealer is prepared for battle. Tails immediately begins to rain fire upon it, but is unable to tag the machine as the wheels on its extremities have it swerving and spinning out of the way, knocking Omega aside in the process. Just then, Amy comes stampeding out of nowhere and attacks the Egg Dealer, swinging her hammer and landing it right on one of the mech's large yellow face buttons. One of the 3 screens begins to spin like a slot machine before slowly coming to a stop and landing on an image of Sonic, his smiling bright face just like he was before all of this. Eggman cackles.
Lucky you! You just chose the most poetic form of destruction I can muster.
As the Egg Dealer continues to skate around unopposed with Tails, Amy, and Omega attempting to chase it down, the last 2 screens slide into place, both sharing that smiling Sonic image.
Time for your end! Get ready for Sonic Fever!
Suddenly, inside of the Egg Dealer, a small leftover stash of concealed Chaos drives are fractured as their liquid energy is consumed by the machine and launched out of the front as an energy wave. The blue light passes right past the heroes and instead goes straight towards Sonic. The beam is meant for him. Though originally this mechanism was intended for the Sonic androids, it was repurposed for the organic counterpart. The writhing ultramarine energy wraps around his body as he siphons it in, sneering as his eyes light up, now brimming with raw power. Metal Sonic had finally begun pressing the advantage, but now that Sonic is filled with chaos energy, it's no contest. Knuckles is left awestruck as Sonic instantly blitzes Metal with unparalleled speed, smashing the robot and sending him flying. The rest of the heroes turn towards Eggman as he calls back the Sonic androids. They disengage and reconvene on Sonic and the Doctor, gathering into one giant horde of blue at the Egg Dealer's rear. The heroes regroup, standing opposed to the army just as they were at the start of the battle. Poor Tails' eyes are wide in shock as he meets eyes with his best friend, no, his brother, wearing a face that he's never seen before. Sonic steps far to the front of the line, facing down his misconceived enemies. A ripple of cyan lightning frolics across his chaos-imbued body as he leans forward, palms against the ground, assuming a crouched running start position. Then, with a devilish smirk on his face, Sonic kicks forward. With raw speed, powered by chaos energy and no need to hold back, Sonic has unlocked the true form of the boost. With a reverberating pulse, Sonic zips past the heroes in a microsecond. Trailing behind him comes a powerful shockwave that cleaves through the sound barrier. The tidal wave of debris is too much for the team to fight back against, and every one of them are swept up and blown away by the furious hurricane. Tails is the only one not launched into oblivion thanks to his aerial position in the tornado. But still, the blast is strong enough to make Tails fight the controls in order to regain altitude. With this distraction, however, he fails to notice Sonic, platforming up with a rapid sequence of homing attacks against curled Sonic androids to reach the plane in the air. In a flash, Sonic lands, both feet on the thin midsection of the tornado, a rigid hand raised above his head. Tails knows that Sonic is preparing to end his life.
Sonic, please don't do this!
Sonic mumbles to himself in response. Give me one reason not to. But then, before the final blow is struck, as the cast all lay incapacitated, as the hour of crisis has reached its peak, without warning, a giant beam of light comes cascading down from the heavens and skewers one of the Egg Fleet's cruisers, piercing a hole through it in a concussion of superheated scrap as the ship begins to detonate and plunge downwards. Several more beams soon follow, narrowly missing collisions with the other ships and jolting against the surface of the valley. Startled by this event, Sonic stumbles in surprise. Tails seizes the opportunity, knowing it's a life or death situation, and flips the tornado into a barrel roll, which throws Sonic from the craft and back slamming into the terrain. The egg dealer then comes lurching up to him.
Speak to me, Sonic! Are you okay?
I'll walk it off. But, Doc? What's happening? Only now do the heads of the characters turn upward to see that the sky has turned a sickening shade of blood red. As Dr. Eggman exclaims that his ships have detected something in the upper atmosphere, the murky crimson clouds swirl to form an orifice, accompanied by deep cracks of thunder and lightning. From the hellish fissure overhead, the cast are thrown into disbelief as they witness what looks to be figures falling from it. Then, in troves, an entire army of monstrous creatures begin pouring from the opening, plunging down to the world below. As the invaders land, their alien appearance becomes all the more evident, with putrid yellow eyes, ashy skin, and maroon blotches across their bodies. The vast colossal horde forms into a single pack, the heroes and villains alike still watching in nervous confusion, disturbed by what exactly they're facing. After the last few have made their landing and a hair-raising silence washes over the canyon, slowly, the army of black creatures shuffle to the side, opening up to create a path to the front line of their formation. Walking down the aisle comes a familiar face in unfamiliar attire. The entire main cast are now speechless by what they're seeing. The leader of the Black Arms calls out,
Dr. Eggman, yield now, or fall to the might of Black Shadow.
And that's where we're gonna leave this story for right now. So, what did you guys think? Did the Battle of Frontier Canyon turn out the way you expected? Can the heroes hope to recover in time to save their friend? And most pressingly of all, why is Shadow with the Black Arms? Please share your thoughts with me in the comments below. I've been the Sega Scourge, and I'll see you guys in the next Sonic What If. Take care.